Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new year in PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. For those of you who might be new, I'm your host, Javon Harrington, here to welcome you to a world of new ideas and possibilities. If you're a regular and you've been here before, I thank you for returning. It's been a while since I last made a video like this. I hope you've all enjoyed your vacations. I've missed you. Now, our official slate of videos begins next week, but this is a prologue to a new story coming to the channel, one that I hope will take Naruto in a different direction. While there are many what-if storytellers here on YouTube, I like to push the envelope. I like to explore ideas that are so out of the box that can take the story to places we never dreamed possible. And that's what I have to offer. You'll see plenty of things in 2023, but this is just the first. Your prologue to Naruto, King of the Clouds. What if Naruto was a cloud ninja? What if in the world of Naruto, his origins find him in a new village, a new setting, with new friends and potentially new foes? Can Naruto still navigate his way in the shinobi world? Can he still be the hero that we all know he's capable of being? Well, join along as we explore this new world and its possibilities. In this video, I want to lay down the groundwork for the world of this story, so that you'll be able to understand the characters involved, their motivations, and everything going into Naruto, King of the Clouds. For starters, the ninja world would be the same as in the Naruto canon, up to a certain point. The events of the first and second great ninja wars would play out just as they had in the original Naruto timeline. However, there would be a key difference with one character. You know him as Minato Namikaze of the Hidden Leaf. However, this story would explore a different Minato. Minato in this version, his family roots would be traced not back to Konoha, but to the Hidden Cloud. The reason being is because his family is ultimately an unknown. We know little about the Namikaze, whether or not they were a powerful clan or if they were just a standard civilian sort of family. A lot of Minato's backstory is a mystery, and until anything new comes out, it leaves us with a lot of wiggle room to play with Minato's origins. As such, we simply change things around. In the ties and the flows of history, the Namikaze, or their precursors and ancestors, would find their roots being settled not within the forested area of Konoha, but within the cloudy mountains of the Hidden Cloud Village. As Minato was raised within the Hidden Cloud, he would still have his genius intellect, although he would have to play by a different set of rules. The Cloud Village was a strong and powerful nation. It was one of shinobi who had pride that was high, and sometimes warranted, although this could be seen clashing with Minato's rather meek and humble beginnings. Still, his talent would shine through, much in the light of his contemporaries, that being in A, the son of the third Raikage, as well as many others within his class. Minato would rise through the ranks, eventually gaining the rank of Jonin, and he would eventually fight within the Third Great Ninja War. Now, in terms of Minato's love interest, the best one I could come up with was Mabui. You may know her as serving as the assistant to the fourth Raikage in the series of Naruto. And her and Minato, their overall sort of behavior and their traits and qualities, I feel could mesh well together in the forms of a relationship. The two of them being kind and soft-speaking, oftentimes wanting to pursue the overall peace and goodness not just of their village, but of the ninja world, as Mabui is shown wanting to make peace with nations whenever possible, which is not easy when dealing with someone who is as stubborn as Raikage A was. Because of this, their relationship would blossom, and when they got married, Mabui would even go on to teach Minato one of her famed techniques. You know it as the Heavenly Transfer technique, an ability similar to that of the Flying Raijin. Although she was unable to teleport other living beings, she was capable of teleporting objects of any size anywhere in the world instantly. With Minato being given a privy to learning the Heavenly Transfer technique, I believe that Minato is more than skilled enough to reverse engineer and come up with his own version of the Flying Raijin. Of course, this would not be the exact Flying Raijin you might be familiar with, but keep in mind Minato is a genius. He was able to create the Rasengan, and he still does in this timeline, because after all, the Rasengan was just reverse engineering and creating a miniature version of the tailed beast bomb, which he had been witness to. Because of this, Minato would work tirelessly, until eventually he would come up with the Heavenly Transfer Thunder Strike, Level 2. This allowing him to teleport not just objects, but himself, creating a different but unique jutsu formula that he would tag on a series of kunais. Minato was more focused on speed, and coming from the Hidden Cloud Village, he would have that, using Lightning Release, although he would still be privy to his other two chakra natures in both wind and fire. However, during the Third Great Ninja War, Minato would have some rivals from other nations. One that stood out came from the Hidden Leaf. His name was Kizashi Haruno. Now you might be wondering, why is Kizashi Haruno a prodigy in this world? How did this come to be? Well, to learn more, we would have to switch our story over to the Hidden Leaf. What was the Hidden Leaf like without Minato? Who would rise and take his place? Well, we were able to see this in the Naruto movie Road to Ninja, seeing an alternate world where Minato and Kushina had survived, a world where Sakura found herself in the role of Naruto. Now, this movie isn't canon, but the fact that of all people, Sakura's father was shown to have been the fourth Hokage means that I can take some liberties. If there was really that kind of potential in him that he could be the fourth Hokage in another universe, then why not make him the fourth Hokage in this universe? However, what would Kizashi's overall personality be when it came to being in this world? Well, many would say that he was a goofball. Others could say he was a Casanova. Although, he would be a jack of all trades. He was the kind of person who just had a way of making you smile. He wasn't quiet and reserved. He could sometimes be loud, a little too loud for his own good. In fact, when Kushina arrived in the Hidden Leaf, she would actually find Kizashi to be a bit annoying. However, Kizashi would still have his good qualities, and things would only change when he eventually saved Kushina's life, when she had almost been kidnapped by none other than Hidden Cloud Shinobi. Of course, this was still during the reign of the third Raikage, and things would be very, very tense around this time, as the precipice of the Third Great Ninja War would be upon the world. However, once Kizashi was able to save Kushina, she would see him in a new light. Rather than allowing him to fall at the wayside, she encouraged him, and their encouragement of one another fed into an ever-growing love. It allowed for Kizashi to push himself forward, to go to new heights, and to reach places he never thought he could. He would still go on to have a Jonin sensei in Jiraiya, and being trained by one of the Sannin, it would allow him to bring out his true potential. His potential would be none other than fire. He would not just be a master of fire style, he would be the master of fire style, going on to master over 100 fire style ninjutsus and creating some of his own. Among them would be his special technique, one that made him feared among the other great ninja villages. That technique was that of the Red Emperor. Think about Endeavor's powers from My Hero Academia and apply them to Kizashi, and that is what you would get. A master of the flame, who was able to use the flames to not only enhance his body, but his speed. Kizashi wasn't adept at using many other chakra natures or jutsus, but he was good at fire. Really good. He looked to master the flame, to become one with it. To master the use of fire style to a degree that he would become the undisputed master of the flame. And seeing as how the Hidden Leaf was in the Land of Fire, he lived up to his moniker. By the time of the Third Great Ninja War, there were two great powers in the world. There was Kizashi Haruno, the Red Emperor of the Hidden Leaf, and Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash of the Hidden Cloud. They would lead their villages during the time of the Third Great Ninja War, fighting on the front lines as the elite of Jonin. They were so powerful that it was only a matter of time before the two sides would come into blows. Of course, there were still the likes of the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki, Killer Bee, along with A. They made the unruly duo. And of course, one could never forget about the feats of the Uchiha, especially with Fugaku, otherwise known as Wicked Eye Uchiha, whose prowess and mastery in genjutsu made him a run-on-sight shinobi during the time of the Third Great Ninja War. Of course, things would eventually come to a head. As the waning moments of the war finally drew to a close, it would lead to an epic showdown of sorts. This would be known as the Clash of Dawn, or the climax of the Third Great Ninja War, when Kizashi and Minato would meet one-on-one. It was thought that the winner of this match would determine the fate of the ninja world, as both were viewed as future Kage hopefuls in their own right. You could also say that throughout the war, the two developed a strong and friendly rivalry. Minato was, while kind-hearted, the cold and calculated type, someone who had layers to his ideals and to his plans. There was always a counter to the counter. While Kizashi was someone who went with the flow, he let the wind, so to speak, dictate his movements. He was a free spirit, and as such, it allowed him and his flames to burn as bright as the sun itself. The clash between the two lasted for over a days of time, eventually leading to the culmination as the two would unleash their final attack. For Minato, he had been feared for developing a jutsu known as the Rasengan, and the response from Kizashi? He created the Ryu Nova. Many would say that this was just a fire-style version of the Rasengan, but that wasn't the case, because this was not the molding of chakra and then adding fire to it. No, Kizashi would take flame, he would hold it in the palm of his hand, and he would add his chakra to the flame, while compressing it and condensing it, and to the point to where it almost seemed like he was holding the sun in the palm of his hands. The Rasengan and the Ryu Nova would clash, creating large aftershocks that shook up the very ground of the battlefield. It was said that the two had to pull back on their attacks lest they risk losing both of their arms. And the battle ended in a tie. With the draw being made, both Minato and Kizashi would resign themselves, leaving the battle satisfied with the results. Shortly after, the Third Great Ninja War would come to an end. As in the original timeline, the third Hokage Hiruzen would step down, and Kizashi would take over as the fourth Hokage. While in the Hidden Cloud, there was turmoil. You see, The Raikage, who unfortunately gave his life, fending off against a large army of shinobi, allowing for his men to escape, would have no choice but to select who he wanted the next Raikage to be. This would not sit well with A at all, since he always believed that he would be the one in line to become the next Raikage. Of course, being Raikage was not something that was a blood right by any means, although the title had been kept in the family due to its strength, this being the first to be matched by Minato. Both Minato and A had clashes in personality and ideology. Minato was a shinobi that wanted to make peace. However, A, he was the type of person that wanted to have overwhelming force and dominance. He wanted the Hidden Cloud to be the very best by any means necessary. And because of this, he wasn't really in the fondness of having Minato be Raikage, knowing that Minato would push for more peacetime, and that peacetime could potentially make the Hidden Cloud a lot more weaker, something that could not be tolerated. However, the final words from the third Raikage would be given, and as such, Minato would be made the fourth Raikage. Of course, our story would eventually have to go back to the Hidden Leaf. Kizashi, living a life similar to that of another Hokage, would be the captain of his own team during the Third Great Ninja War. This would be Team Kizashi, the team of Kakashi, Ren, and Obito, unfortunately resulting in the loss of Obito's life during the Third Great Ninja War, and Kakashi becoming Kakashi of the Sharingan. Of course, Kizashi and Kushina would still go on to have their child, and it would be on the night of their child's birth that a masked man would attack the village. Even for the lack of knowledge, and believing that he had found himself in a fight against none other than Madara, Kizashi showed the heart of a shinobi, in the fact that he was able to defend the village from the rampaging Ninetales. With help from his wife, they were able to perform the sealing jutsu. While they did not want the situation to come to this, they would have no choice but to seal the tailed beast inside of a child that would be capable of containing the power and hopefully being able to master it. This child would be none other than their own, Sakura Uzumaki. As the Ninetales was sealed inside of her, both Kizashi and Kushina would die, as they had been impaled by the claws of the Ninetales, clutching on to their baby girl as they passed away. Of course, this is not where our story ends, but there were things that did play a part in shaping this world. For starters, there was the Great Divide. It all started when Minato had finally managed to broker peace, a peace between the cloud and between the leaf. He had even sent some representatives to go and make good on the treaty. However, A had tried to take advantage of this. The Cloud were always looking to gain power, and after the failed attempt at taking the Ninetales, he had wanted to follow with an attack on the Hyuga, attempting to take the young heiress, that being Hinata Hyuga. Of course, this would result in failure, and A would push to have the would-be killer having his life taken in exchange. Of course, Minato was already displeased that shinobi serving under him would dare to pull away from his direct orders not to engage in any acts that could disturb the peace. But because of the fact that A had gone so far as to go behind his back in the first place. Unlike in the original timeline, Minato would not ask for the head of Kizashi Hyuga. As such, his brother Heihachi would not be killed, that being Neji's father. Minato would not ask for repentance, and instead, Minato would actually beg for forgiveness. A could not tolerate it any longer. He called out Minato. He believed that Minato would be a failure as a Raikage, that the Hidden Cloud was going to be left to ruin because he wanted his precious peace, and that when the world found itself on the brink, when the Hidden Cloud found itself with no way of protection and it was destroyed, that fault would be left at the feet of Minato. However, Minato would push away these notions. A would be demoted, serving as nothing more but a jonin, and this would fester a deep hatred between the two. Killer B would become Minato's partner, the two of them being known as the Flash Duo. Rather than like duos before between the Raikage and their tag team partner, this partnership didn't focus solely on strength. It was about speed. Minato and Killer B would focus on their tandem being not that of just pure raw strength, but having unmatched speed, having the ability to blitz the opponent and to stop a fight before it even starts. And for Minato, he was happy to have someone who he felt could match him to a degree, as even while they were training, they had both managed to fight to a draw a few times. Minato acknowledging that B had the eyes and the skills of a shinobi killer, although his rapping skills could definitely use some work. But there is one last part to this prologue. Eventually in time, as all of you would be aware, Mabui would have to take some time off from being the Raikage's assistant. Why? Because she was pregnant. Her and Minato would be expecting a child. As they were expecting, B would serve as Mabui's assistant / bodyguard, watching over her as they awaited for the birth of their child. While Minato was just walking about throughout the Hidden Cloud, he had actually managed to find someone who was sneaking in. A silver-haired individual, someone who was known for traveling about the different villages, sometimes without permission. This would be none other than Jiraiya. Minato would find Jiraiya as he was just enjoying the livelihood of the Hidden Cloud. Of course, Minato had heard stories of him, and it was said that he could be pretty wise, although there were other stories that he was pretty lecherous, so he had to keep a close eye on him and hope that he didn't cause any trouble in the Hidden Cloud. And Jiraiya would assure the new Raikage that he wasn't doing anything of the sort. As the two met and talked, they actually shared a lot in common. Minato's desire for peace in the world, and Jiraiya even wondered if Minato might be the child of prophecy. Of course, he always thought that his student, Kizashi, could have been that child, or maybe even Nagato, but sadly, they had both been gone, believed to be dead. Of course, Minato would ask about Kizashi's death, and he would be disheartened. Even if the two of them were rivals, there was a great respect between the two. Minato believed that they would both go on to serve as the Kages of their respective villages into a new age of peace. But now, following his death, and with the third Hokage having to step back into the role, it seemed like things might be far from it. Although Minato was happy to learn that he did have a child, a daughter named Sakura. Of course, he was expecting a child himself, although he hadn't been able to come up with a name. Before Jiraiya would leave though, he would give Minato a book. It wasn't his Make-Out Paradise series, which surprisingly enough was popular among many of the other nations, including the Hidden Cloud, and it was even rumored that it might get some type of movie someday. No, this was a book about something else. It was an old novel that Jiraiya had written. The story of a shinobi, of someone who had the guts to never give up in the face of adversity, even when it seemed like the world and everyone in it was stacked against him. The tale of someone with guts. Minato would take the book as a gift, and he would pardon Jiraiya, although he would warn him that if he was going to come back to their territory, he'd have to do so by legal means. Jiraiya, out of respect, would agree, and would be about his way. As Minato left back, he would begin reading the book, enthralled with the main character. He loved the story of someone who never gave up, who tried to fight for peace in the ninja world. And he was fond of the name. When he finally returned home, Mabui would ask how Minato had been, to which he would tell her that he was fine. As they both sat together, looking out as the sun was setting over the cloud village, they thought about the names for their child, of the baby boy that was going to be born. Of course, many names came to mind, but Minato thought of one name that he felt would be befitting of their son. As his wife looked back towards him, she asked, what was that name? Minato smiled as he said, how about Naruto?